Jackie.
Okay.
Okay, now we are live and let's your screen share. Mhm.
Before I forget, my daughter wanted you to add her to this group. My
Which
daughter,
group? Which group?
the one that
The
you're
NHC
giving,
group?
yeah, you're giving lectures on.
It's on YouTube. If she has a link, she can just join.
Yeah, she doesn't have the link.
But when he sends to you,
Yeah, you can just forward her to
Mhm.
her, or we can add it to the group of the community. That's fine too. But now everyone's hearing us live. Maybe it's
Your
fine
life
too.
is more interesting.
Do I give you the number? Or?
Hold on. Let's try and figure this out. I think this time you're gonna have to send it to her anyways, because she won't see it even if I do add her to the group.
Okay.
Who? Someone's
Odessa.
What's the number?
Plus
+254.
254.
No, she's in Uganda, so it's +2.
Yeah, this is my number. 71.
+254 721 96 5 4 6 4 6 7.
There is +254.
Did you get it?
Not yet. Again, +254 721 96 5467. Right? Yes. Let's try. There, she should be in the group now, but either way, you should send her the.
Link.
Mhm. Okay, we've got about 2 more minutes. Well, I hope these are good translations. I use the the help of my friend ChatGPT to translate these. So Know of anyone else who should be joining?
I'm not sure. Eating is not coming.
Uchi comes at our pace.
Okay.
She's never in a hurry.
What about
Catherine,
Ephraim?
Ephra, okay, that one too comes
He usually
from,
comes.
from his place of work, so maybe a little bit late.
It is 7 p.m. and we said we'll start, so we're going to start. All right. So, if you remember, last week we talked about Yosef ben Yoezer and Yosef ben Yochanan, who were both the leaders of the Jewish community at that time. We said that Yosef ben Yoezer, who we discussed his saying last week, was the president, was the Nasi, and this week we're going into his. We're going to talk about his partner, Yosef ben Yochanan ish Yerushalayim. Right? I'll read the Mishnah out first in Hebrew, and then we'll read the translation. יוסף בן יוחנן איש ירושלים אומר, יהי ביתך פתוח לרווחה, ויהיו עניים בני ביתך, ואל תרבה שיחה עם האישה. באשתו אמרו, קל וחומר באשת חברו. מכאן אמרו חכמים, כל המרבה שיחה עם האישה גורם רעה לעצמו, הוא בטל מדברי תורה וסוברו ירש גיהנום. So can you go bring out some cookies?
Not sleep in the sleep.
Oh, I understand them as putting us to sleep. But you can take a plate and put some cookies on them and bring it here. And if you can't find the plate, you can just bring out the whole box. Asante. Don't worry about it. Okay, so moving on to this translation. Yes, dear.
Maybe we have a plate there outside.
Maybe.
How much to bring?
7. Thank you, sweetie. All right. So, in the first source that we have, well, I'll read it out. Yosef ben Yochanan of Jerusalem says, "Let your house be open wide, and let the poor be members of your household, and do not engage in excessive conversation with a woman. They said this regarding one's own wife. How much more so regarding another man's wife? From this, the sages say, anyone who converses excessively with a woman causes harm to himself, neglects the words of the Torah, and in the end will inherit Gehenna." Okay? All right, so we're going to start with the. You didn't find the place, you just put it over there, okay? Thank you.
I'm giving you cookies this year. This year. She had to hold already.
Okay. So we're going to dive in mostly to the last part of the Yosef ben Yochanan's saying, because the other ones, they seem kind of intuitive, right? The first two are talking about how you should open your house wide, and let the poor be members of your house. So basically, do chesed, right?
That is
We know
understandable.
it's very understandable. It's one of the main things, right? When we were talking about Shimon HaTzadik, we were saying how there are three pillars of the world. One of them was Gemilut Chasadim. So here comes Yosef ben Yochanan and saying an example or maybe a specific way to do this Gemilut Chasadim is to open your house wide and let the poor people in. Now, it's also interesting that we'll delve into this a bit. Right, we said that Yosef ben Yochanan is from Jerusalem. Yosef ben Yoezer was from a place called Sereda, so a small little village. This one, they were both talking about opening up your house, right? If you remember last week, so the one, Yosef ben Yoezer, was saying how you should open your house for the wise to congregate in. And here we have Yosef ben Yochanan saying something similar but different, saying how you should open your house for the poor. And I think the reason for that is not only a different philosophy, rather it's interesting to see where these people lived. This person lived in a small little town where wise people weren't very common. So it was very important for him to open his house for the wise people to congregate because those were not as common. But on the other hand, we have Yosef ben Yochanan, who lives in Jerusalem. No shortage of wise people in Jerusalem, right? It's the city of the sages. There's always people coming and going. It's a big, big city. Who can we easily neglect? The poor. So what Yosef ben Yochanan, coming from Jerusalem, has to tell us is that even with this big commotion going around, don't neglect the poor. All right? Open your house wide. Let the poor people in. Even if there's a lot of people, he coming from Jerusalem can say, let the poor people come into your house and make them, not only that, make them members of your household. I see you made a balloon, sweetie, but now we're doing a shear, okay? So we just be quiet. All right? You want to help me give me the shear? Yeah? Come. All right? So, now, why shouldn't we talk a lot to women? That's a tough question for a 5-year-old. Okay? It's not me who says it. It's a much wiser man than me, named Yosef ben Yochanan. Okay, so that's the last part of the Mishnah that I said we're going to delve into a little more. What, sweetie?
אם אני יושב פה, זה הולך לפה.
Right, it's like a mirror. It sees you in a different way.
אם אני עשיתי ככה, וזה הולך לפה.
Yes. Okay, now I'm going to give the shear. All right? So
Okay.
if you want to help me, you can sit back and sit like this
Okay.
and put on a serious face. We're talking about serious stuff now. All right? Okay.
Why we have this?
No questions. Questions at the end. All right?
Okay.
Okay, so he's saying that do not engage in excessive conversation with a woman. And then the Mishnah elaborates on that more and says this is talking even with about his own wife. Needless to say, someone who's not your wife, you shouldn't be talking too much to. They shouldn't have an excessive conversation. And now, okay, we'll look into what the Rambam says about this. The Rambam, right underneath, on his commentary to Mishnah, he said, he warned not to converse excessively with a woman, even with one's own wife, because this leads to frivolity and lightheadedness. All right, we know that sometimes the engagement between men and women. Hello, good evening. Can easily lead to we'll say, a problematic atmosphere. Okay, and this is what the Rambam explains, saying Yosef ben Yochanan warned us not to speak excessively with women to avoid this sort of atmosphere. All right. Now,
So can you teach a woman something like Torah based or halakha or something like that?
that's a good question. What is a conversation with a woman? What
And
falls
what is
into
wrong?
the
Yeah.
what falls into conversation and what falls into excessive conversation? And to answer that, we'll start looking into the Gemara in Eruvin. Now, the Gemara in Eruvin is discussing whether or not, or we'll say, proper behavior between a man and woman. And it says like this. Right? I want to just read it out in Hebrew first. Here I have it. Tanu Rabbanan. המרצה מעות לאישה מידו לידה, או מידה לידו, בשביל שיסתכל בה, אפילו דומה למשה רבנו שקיבל תורה מהר סיני, לא ינקה מדינה של גיהנם, ועליו הכתוב אומר, יד ליד לא ינקה, רע לא ינקה מדינה של גיהנום. All right? So they're saying here that a man should not count money into a woman's hand, and vice versa. He should not accept money from a woman's hand, directly from a woman's hand. All right, but it also forsake of gazing at her, even if they, meaning even if this person resembles Moses, the great Moses who received Torah. So it brings a place in a pasuk in Proverbs that says, "Hand to hand, evil will not be cleared." Meaning that this passing from hand to hand, there's no way to clear it, even if you're at the same level of Moshe Rabbeinu. Doesn't help. You can't clear from this sin, and that seems to be a much further step, right? Before we were saying, all right, conversation you can understand. It's sort of like an intellectual bonding that can maybe lead to something, emotional. But passing money from one to the other, passing money from one, it's everyday life. And just saying but that is the worst thing that even a person who's at the level of Moshe Rabbeinu can't do. Now let's look more into the Gemara. It brings the saying of Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman said, Manoach, which was Shimshon HaGibor's father. All right? It says, there's the story in the Tanakh about how the angel showed himself to Manoach's wife first and telling her that she will have a son who will lead Israel and redeem them from Plishtim. And he's telling her, listen, you can't cut his hair, and he shouldn't drink wine, all these stuff that they shouldn't do. And then she runs and goes to tell her husband Manoach, which was Shimshon's father. And she comes over and she tells him this. And then what the Tanakh says is Vayakam Manoach Vayelech achar ishto. Okay? So in the translation here, and Manoach arose and went after his wife. And Rav Nachman learns from this. Rav Nachman said Manoach was an unlearned person. And how does he justify that saying? As it says, and Manoach arose and went after his wife. Okay, so the Gemara was before discussing how one shouldn't walk behind a woman, even his own wife. And to prove that Manoach was an unlearned man, he says here, Manoach didn't know this. So, wait a minute. Well, at the beginning, we were saying you shouldn't converse with a woman.
Yeah.
And then we're saying you shouldn't pass money from hand to hand. Here, you're saying there doesn't even have to be any physical relationship. You're not even allowed to walk behind the woman. All right? A man shouldn't even walk behind the woman. And yeah, it's not, a stranger on the street, you can make her spook out. No, it's talking even about your own wife. You shouldn't walk behind her. Okay, for us, and definitely in the modern age, it doesn't, it seems unreasonable. But also, if we look at the Psukim in Genesis, it sounds gets even more perplexing. Because we have the saying, and the Lord said, "It is not good for a man to be alone. I will make a helper corresponding to it." All right? Or as the Pasuk says in Hebrew, "Vayomer Hashem Elokim, lo tov heyot ha'adam levado, aseh lo ezer kenegdo." And then what's the next action that Hashem does?
He creates
He creates Eve, right? So wait a minute. Before we were saying all this stuff you shouldn't do with a woman.
Yeah.
But here, God himself is saying, no, this
can't
is a helper.
You can't do without the woman. Yeah.
This is a helper, and the worst thing will be to leave a man by himself. So which one is it? Is a woman so terrible you can't speak to her, you can't walk behind her, you can't even give her, have simple daily interactions with her? Or is she a God-sent helper?
Maybe probably that was before the sin and the money.
Okay,
The Garden of Eden.
you're right.
Yes.
Yes, that's true. This is before the sin of the garden, in the Garden of Eden, where you can say, all right, there, was an ideal world. The woman was an ideal person. The man was an ideal man. All right, we have, there was nothing, it was all good in the world. There was no evil yet because there was no sin yet. All right, that makes sense. But there's later in Kohelet, okay, he says, enjoy life with a woman who you love. All the days of fleeting life which he has given you under the sun. All your fleeting days, for this is your portion in life, and it is the labor of which you will toil under the sun. Meaning, Kohelet is saying, enjoy
Life with a woman.
enjoy life with a woman
You love.
as long as you can. But not only that, because this is your duty, all right? All right? All the reason for working hard, for your hard labor, and for everything you do is in order to live with the woman you love, right? And we see that also, in normal life, normal daily lives. What's the greatest thing is to come home, relax, talk to your wife, and have a normal life. So which one is it? Is it, it's so terrible that you shouldn't converse? Or is it the most enjoyable and the most worthwhile thing that you can do under the sun, right? That's what King Solomon is telling
I think the conversations probably they're talking here, like if you exceed, you will go now into cheap talks, and then you are going to lose the focus of what's really important in the conversation that you're supposed to have.
But where's the gauge? Where
that's
do
what
you
I
put the
wanted
line?
that's what I wanted to ask. How does it go? You go to
You're
excess.
talking about your kids with your wife.
Yes.
You're talking about what you did during the day and what she did during the day. So where do you draw the line that this is serious?
Now
this
probably this is what they're telling us. You should have it. Okay. You should draw a line.
Yeah.
You shouldn't go to
own
cheap talks. Like now you like it's like she may try to tell you about what's happening in the house of the neighbor.
Yeah.
It may happen.
Yeah.
And then it becomes lashon hara. So
But by the way, we may say it becomes Lashon Hara, but in a way she might be pointing to you an important point, not necessarily Lashon Hara all the time.
yeah,
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah.
I think
So where do we
the
draw the
bottom line
line?
here is moderation. You moderate in your talks, in your actions.
So you want to
Okay.
tell me now we are going to sit down at the sitting room, since we've all discussed what we were meant to, then you sit just quiet, not
Yeah,
talking.
and I think one of the problems we had with my former wife was talking. He used to complain, I don't talk.
Yeah, and that hurts.
That's true, but that's usually the complaint, you know. Why aren't you talking to me? So you could say, listen, it's not me. It's just say Ben Yochanan saying you should. No, but I think what you're saying is also right.
I want water.
You want some water? Go take some.
No, someday.
Go take some.
We don't have water.
You don't have water?
I don't want cold water.
You want warm water from the house?
No cold water.
Oh, you want cold water? There's some in the fridge in the house.
No.
Yes, there is. Go get the bottle. I'll open it for you. That's hot water.
But maybe he wants from here. Can I help you?
Anyway, okay. So I think there's two things that if we dive deeper into these sources, we'll understand a little more. Okay. One is yes, maybe three things. One is, first of all, the amount, right? The excessiveness.
Yeah.
Are you over?
Chit-chatting.
Yeah, are you over chit-chatting? Where is it leading you to? All right. And I think if we look more deeper into the language of the Mishnah, כל המרבה שיחה עם האישה גורם רעה לעצמו ובטל מדברי תורה. It also is a question of what else should you be doing? Are you sitting and talking and, schmoozing around and having a good time because, you missed each other and it's been a long while since you've had a moment to talk? Or are you doing that instead of doing something more productive like learning Torah? Not that speaking to your wife is not productive and important. It is. But the question is also the timing. Yes. It's also the timing and also the amount. All right. So to put boundaries to even daily actions is important.
Yeah.
All right. Even simple stuff like speaking to your wife have to be done in moderation. You shouldn't be staying up till 3 a.m. every morning because speaking to your wife, though it might be fun and there might be a time and place for that. But if you do that every day, you're going to be sleep deprived and you're not going to function.
Yeah.
All right. And that's just an example
Hey.
of one thing. And I think another thing is not only the amount, but also what are you in this engagement with a woman? What is your intent? What are you trying to do? So if we look in the Gemara Eruvim, all right, we see for the sake of gazing at her, you shouldn't pass money from hand to hand. That doesn't mean you shouldn't pass money and not conduct, normal business and normal life. It's saying when you pass money, do it for the business, not, I'll give her money or I'll ask her what time it is just so I can look at her face. All right? How you go into this interaction between a man and a woman is also very important. It's very important, what's your intent and what do you mean to get out of this conversation? If it's to have a deep conversation about, the meaning of the Rambam in the commentary of the Mishnah, that's one thing. But if it's just to seek a woman's gaze or to, find a way to an opening line for a physical bond, that's a whole different
What about if
different story.
What about if you're young and looking for a wife? How do you? What about if you
No, but they're also there. There has to be moderation. There has to be a certain intent, right? Because someone can say, I'm looking for a wife. Well, all is intent, for the physical act. But on the other hand, a person could really be looking for a wife. And, and then and someone he's seeking to build a life with. And then the conversation and the whole atmosphere is very, very different. All right? Because if you're only looking for the physical action, then it'll be one type of relationship. But if you're looking for something, worthwhile to really establish a home, to build, it's a completely different conversation. It's a completely different relationship. Okay? So I think that's that's what Rabbi Yosef ben Yochanan is trying to teach us. Okay, and I want to raise the last question and hear your thoughts about it at the last line of the page. Why does the Mishnah begin with an act of chesed? Right? It says, open your house wide. But then it ends with a very strange restriction, which we, sorted out. But still, that's a strange way to, start over and then restrict not only, it's not like a restriction where like, oh, okay, it has to do one with the other, but it's the restricting the basic force of life, right? Why does it start so open and then put such a hard and harsh restriction on us at the end of the Mishnah?
I think it's a good thing to be kind to the poor. But in being kind, you should know who you are being kind to. There may be ladies of the night, maybe that you should away from. That is one. And even when you're talking maybe to your neighbors, to your friends, then there should be moderation. The issue of maybe money should be purely for business. But there's a question that arises. I could be doing it in good faith, but the other party has issues of our own. So that one, it's like you run away from. And we should learn. At all expense, find time for the Torah reading, even if it's a Mishnah, a page like this, and you'll be fine. And always know that your wife is your helper. Enjoy life. Enjoy life with your wife.
Oh, but I'm asking specifically about the Mishnah, right?
Okay.
Yosef ben Yochanan says, let your house be open wide. That's how he starts off. And then he says, but don't speak too excessively with a woman. It seems to be two things that have nothing to do with each other. If he said, as you said, let your house be open wide, but be cautious who you let in. That I would understand. Why is he saying it specifically about this issue of how you should treat your wife and broader than that, women in general? Why go so far? From something that seems like it has nothing to do with what he was saying at the beginning. Yeah. Now you might say it really doesn't. Yosef ben Yochanan is giving us his life advice.
How to do it?
No, he's giving us his life advice. Yeah. All right, and his life advice is he learned two main things in life. The first is your house should be open wide and also let the poor in. That can be one. And the other is don't speak too excessively with a woman. Maybe. I think no. What Rabbi Yosef ben Yochanan is trying to teach us is he's saying you should put boundaries to everything you do. You should put boundaries even on the most daily action. If you put boundaries there, if you know that when you speak to your wife, you should speak first of all with respect, and second with moderation and not too excessively. Don't get to a place where you do it just for the fun and you get to a place of lightheadedness. All right?